And we're back. Jasmin, you didn't just report on the media shift, you very much lived it. You were part of the mainstream world and made the choice to leave it behind. So, what was the turning point for you? When did it become clear that you couldn't keep working within the traditional media system?
I think there were so many different things that took place over a long period of time that eventually it really did just get me to a point where I was like, I'm so tired of talking about things that don't matter, pretending to care about things that I don't care about. And also having to censor myself at the risk of possibly offending somebody for just saying what I think. And I think it really did just boil down to hitting a breaking point where I was so tired of feeling stomped on and squished, and I just could not do it anymore. It did take a lot longer than I would like to admit. I should have broken out of that cycle many years in advance, but I'm grateful for the career that I did have and far more grateful for what I can do now.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always value in resilience. I think there's value in sucking it up and in going through hard times. I actually think that's really good for humans. I think that's sort of where you find your character and build yourself. So even though it's a little soul crushing, I think, like you said, there's some good value in it. Was there ever any pressure, directly or indirectly, to stick to certain narratives or avoid particular topics? Not just offending people, because I know we can all do that, but I mean, really, like, hey, no, here's the narrative. Here's what you need to stick to.
Absolutely. I would say indirect more than anything, it's one of those things that's not like they can outright tell you what to see or think, but you learn by seeing what's happening around you. You learn by seeing who gets in trouble around you. And
Right.
I really do believe that the media landscape as it is right now is just so plagued by ego and very prideful people who don't have the best of intentions, who just want to win. And, it's like that you don't even have to be directly instructed not to say something. You know that if you say something, your job is on the chopping block. You know that if you do something that goes against the narrative, that goes against what your co-hosts think, that somebody's going to be coming for you to replace you. It's such a dog eat dog world, and it really is to the point where it's so integrated that you don't need to have a manager breathing down your throat, though they do sometimes. You just know how that industry is. It really, I don't know, by the time that I left, I can only imagine how much worse it is now. It just became such a toxic, as you said, soul crushing place to be.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a couple things I would sort of glean from that. One of them is that male ego knows no bounds. I say this all the time. It really doesn't. And I'm sure females are the same, but that's sort of the saying that I have just because I see it play a role. Also, media is such a powerful weapon. I think when people have it, they don't really want to give it up. But it sounds to me more than anything is you were basically forced into self-censorship, which is terrible. So, looking back, do you think that mainstream media in Canada is capable of reform, or does the rot just sort of run too deep at this point?
I hate to say this, but truly, I think the only way that it could ever be reformed is if they lost a lot of their funding and
Right.
they actually had to compete and had to listen to people and go with the flow and also give their hosts the ability to say what they think. There's so many people whose faces we see on mainstream media that I know personally. It's a small big industry in Canada,
Right.
and there's so many of them who I have seen on CBC reporting on things that I know for a fact they do not believe, but they have to say it because if they don't say it, somebody else is going to get the job that they have and they're going to lose everything. And so I agree with what Pierre Polyev had said in terms of if you defund the CBC, that could actually be so much more beneficial for them because people then you're not tied to being a government propaganda machine
Yeah.
essentially. You have the ability to question things, to challenge your views, to have much more interesting and exciting conversations that aren't just confirmation bias.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be the only thing. Having said that, I am also a big believer that the rot is so unbelievably deep. I do not picture a time in my lifetime at least where things really start to change, and that alone is a pretty scary thought.
Yeah, I mean, I'm of the mind that it's going to just basically shift to digital. Do you think that the government's going to find a way to control that as well before it makes that full shift, or do you feel like there will at least be a reasonable independent space for us?
Well, I mean, we already have, as we said, Bill C-63, Bill C-11, Bill C-18, all these things
Yeah,
where
yeah.
the government is certainly trying to lock down on that. I hope that they don't. And, it's actually interesting because Canadian media is pretty much completely controlled by the CRTC.
Yes.
And the CRTC had actually published a report a few months back that showed roughly 67% of Canadians did not find mainstream news trustworthy. So they know that this is a thing. They know that people are moving to independent
Yeah.
voices like ours. But whether or not that is going to make them try a little bit harder, I don't know. Whether or not that is going to make them want to lock down on the control even more, what we will just have to see.
Yeah, it's one of those, if it's not broke, don't fix it. We'll be right back.